Okay, so today we're going deep on something I'm sure we've all thought about at some point, and I'm guessing it wasn't a happy thought.
Yeah, probably not the thing people want to think about too much.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind, until it's not, and it's right in your face.
Yeah, until there's a problem and, then you really have to think about it.
Exactly. And that problem that we're talking about is sewer backups. No one wants to deal with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. I think no one wants to deal with the sewer backup ever.
Exactly. And to help us avoid those situations, we're turning to a podcast episode from A Quick Plumbing to get a plumber's perspective.
Makes sense. They would know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah, they're the experts, so I'm hoping we can learn a thing or two and pass that knowledge along to all of you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive in.
All right, so the first thing the podcast episode talks about is warning signs. So it's like your house is trying to tell you, hey, something's not right down there.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you don't feel well, you start to get some symptoms.
Right, like a cough or runny nose.
Exactly. And your plumbing system, it can be kind of the same way. It gives you these little hints that something's off before things get really bad.
Okay, so let's talk about those hints. What kind of signs should we be on the lookout for?
Well, one of the first things you might notice is slow drains.
So like when the water in the sink is taking forever to go down.
Exactly. And if it's just one drain, it might just be a simple clog. Something you can fix with a plunger, maybe?
Yeah, that's usually my go-to solution.
Yeah, and it usually works for those, simple clogs. But if you're seeing multiple slow drains all over the house, that's when you might have a bigger problem.
Okay, so it's like having multiple symptoms. Then, it's not just a little cold.
Exactly. It's a sign that there's something going on deeper down in the main sewer line.
Okay. And I'm guessing that's not a do-it-yourself kind of fix.
Probably not. You'd want to call a plumber for that one.
Right. Okay, so we've got slow drains. What else?
Well, another thing you might hear is this weird gurgling sound coming from your toilet after you flush.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely heard that before. It's always kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling.
What is that? Is that like air trying to escape or something?
Yeah, it's air that's trapped in the pipes and it's trying to push past a blockage, but it can't. So you get that gurgling sound.
Okay. And that's a bad sign.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good sign, especially if you couple that with the foul smell, that unmistakable sewage odor.
Yeah, no mistaking that smell.
Right. Well, if you're getting that gurgling and the smell, it's time to call a plumber, like right away.
So we've got the slow drains, the gurgling toilet. Any other signs we should be aware of?
Yeah, keep an eye out for water backing up in weird places.
Weird places like where?
Well, for example, you might find your shower half full of dirty water after you do a little laundry.
Ew, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Or you might find these unexplained wet spots in your yard.
Okay, that sounds a little less gross.
Yeah, maybe a little less gross, but still not a good sign, especially if those wet spots are near the foundation or near your basement floor drains.
Got it. So those are all signs that the sewer line is struggling.
Yeah, it's basically your house's way of saying, hey, we need some help down here.
Okay, so now that we know what to look for, let's talk about what's actually causing these blockages in the first place. The podcast episode mentioned a few common culprits.
Yeah, they talk about what they call the unholy trinity of sewer backups.
Okay, the unholy trinity, dramatic. What is that?
Grease wipes and tree roots.
Okay, well, let's break those down one by one, starting with grease. I think we all know that pouring grease down the drain is bad, but remind us why.
Well, when you pour hot grease down the drain, it seems fine, right? It just flows right down there.
Yeah, it seems harmless enough.
But as it cools, it starts to solidify and it sticks to the inside of your pipes.
Oh, so it's like it's coating the pipes in grease.
Exactly. And over time, it builds up and it traps other debris and eventually it creates this rock-solid blockage.
And that's something you can't just clear with a plunger.
Nope. Drain cleaner won't even touch it sometimes. It's a real nightmare.
Okay, so no more pouring grease down the drain.
Right.
What about wipes? This is one I think a lot of people are confused about because they say flushable on the package.
Right, and that's the problem. Those flushable labels can be really misleading.
So they're not actually flushable.
Well, unlike toilet paper, which breaks down pretty quickly in water, most wipes don't. They don't disintegrate the same way.
So they just stay intact.
Yeah, pretty much. And they clump together and they get snagged on any little imperfection in the pipes. And before you know it, you've got this huge tangled mess.
And that's causing a blockage.
Yep, a big one. So even though the package might say flushable, it's really best to just throw them in the trash.
Okay, so toilet paper only when it comes to flushing.
Exactly. You'll thank me later.
Yeah. All right, so we've got grease, we've got wipes, and last but not least, we've got tree roots. Now, those sound like a whole other level of problem.
Yeah, tree roots can be pretty scary when it comes to plumbing.
What makes them so bad?
Well, tree roots are constantly searching for water, right? And your sewer pipes, even if they have the tiniest crack or a loose joint, they're like a beacon to those roots.
So the roots are drawn to the moisture inside the pipes.
Exactly. And once those roots find their way in, they start growing, and they grow fast.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and they can create these huge blockages, and in some cases, they can even break the pipes from the inside.
So it's not just about keeping things out of the drains, it's about protecting the pipes themselves.
Exactly. Prevention is key when it comes to sewer backups.
Okay, well, let's talk about prevention then. The podcast episode mentioned some tips for keeping things flowing smoothly.
Yeah, and they're really pretty simple things that anyone can do.
Okay, so what's the first step?
Well, we've already talked about grease. So, number one is never ever pour grease down the drain. Let it solidify in a can or something, and then throw it in the trash.
Okay, easy enough. What else?
We talked about being careful about what we flush, too, so that's another big one.
Only toilet paper.
You got it. And then another important thing is regular drain cleaning.
So kind of like getting your teeth cleaned.
Exactly. A little maintenance can go a long way in preventing bigger problems down the line.
So how often should we be cleaning our drains?
Well, there are some DIY solutions you can use, but it's also a good idea to call a plumber once a year or so for professional cleaning.
Okay, so professional cleaning once a year, and then DIY stuff in between.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Okay, good to know. Now, what about older homes? Are there any special considerations for people living in older houses?
Yeah, older homes can sometimes have, well, let's just say more character when it comes to their plumbing.
Character meaning?
Meaning the pipes might be made of older materials, or they might have settled over time, which can lead to more cracks and more opportunities for those pesky tree roots to get in.
So older homes might require a bit more vigilance?
Yeah, it's a good idea to have a plumber come and inspect your sewer lines every few years, just to make sure everything's in good shape.
Okay, all right. So we've covered the warning signs, the causes, the prevention tips. But before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on the financial aspect, because ignoring these problems can end up costing you a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dealing with a major sewer backup is not cheap.
How much are we talking?
Well, it can easily cost thousands of dollars to repair the damage, not to mention the potential cost of replacing damaged belongings.
Oh, wow. So it's not just an inconvenience, it's a serious financial hit.
Exactly. And it's not just about the money either. There are potential health hazards too.
Right, because sewage is full of bacteria and viruses.
Exactly. So a sewer backup is definitely something you want to avoid at all costs for your health and your wallet.
Well, I think this has been a really eye-opening conversation. What started as a kind of gross topic has actually turned out to be really informative. I feel like I've learned so much about how to take care of my plumbing.
Yeah, it's all about understanding how things work and taking those simple steps to keep everything running smoothly.
Right, prevention is key. But I like how you mentioned that we're all connected to this larger sewer system. So it's not just about taking care of our own homes, it's about thinking about the community too.
Exactly. We all have a role to play in keeping things flowing for everyone.
That's a great point. So it's not just about individual responsibility, it's about being mindful of the bigger picture and taking care of our shared resources.
Well said. I hope this deep dive helps everyone avoid any plumbing nightmares in the future.
Me too. Thanks for all the insights.
My pleasure. Anytime.
And to all of you listening out there, stay tuned for our next deep dive. We'll be tackling a whole new topic soon.
We'll see you then.
Don't wait for disaster. Slow drains, weird gurgles, bad smells. These are warning signs of a sewer backup. Call AA Quick now for fast, affordable, same-day service. Mention this podcast and get $20 off. AA Quick. Always available, always quick.